Thank you all for tuning in to Running Recaps. I am your host, Carolyn. Today we're going to do an update of the update on Nolan Wells. I am keeping my foot on the gas with this story because I can identify with the loss of a child. And so this is hitting hard with me. And yesterday I was listening to Charles. Charles, one of the hosts of TMZ. So Charles went into the conversation that him and Harvey had about Harvey wanting to give his opinion or theory on Nolan Wells and what he thought was going on. He figured everybody else is putting out an opinion or what you call a theory of what they thought happened. So he may as well, right? I mean, he is the host, the main host of TMZ. But Charles was totally against it. He was trying to persuade him not to do it, just to keep a level head, reporting without really going into putting his own personal theory out there in that way. Harvey recorded a video before he left.
We are still waiting on the results from the official medical examiner down in Mississippi. In the absence of any information, what's happening is you have a lot of people putting theories out there. You have a lot of people putting their opinions about a lot of children, not children, I mean they're young men, that nobody really knows. The people in that community know them, but around the country, people have formed opinions and they are putting them out there online. Some people are posting them on all sorts of platforms, and it's creating a lot of anger around this case. There's anger where people feel that the investigation is not going forward the way they would like to see it go. There are people who are angry about how some people feel about the case, that a lot of people, I've heard the word race baiting used, the phrase race baiting used a lot. Harvey is not here. Obviously, he is shooting a special that we're going to have coming up on Fox in prime time. But before he left this morning, he actually recorded something that I want to play now. And, it's funny. I just said that there are a lot of people sharing their opinions and they don't have information. Well, Harvey is one of them. Here is a theory that he is putting out there, and he's admitting that he doesn't have anything to base this on, but there's a reason he's putting it out there.
A lot of people are saying this has to be foul play. It doesn't make sense. Well, and they're saying it because why would people hire a lawyer? Why would people 86 their texts that they may have had between Nolan and them or other people? It could be foul play. But it also, look, one of the scenarios, and I'm not saying this happened because I don't know, but one of the scenarios could be this, that they were all drinking, which one of the friends said, that maybe they were drunk and they were on a boat and there was horseplay and Nolan either fell off the boat or was pushed off the boat during the horseplay and hit his head, went under, and they couldn't find him. And, that is a scenario. I have no idea what happened, but it's a scenario. And maybe the people who were involved in that freaked out. They thought, oh my God, he died, and we were on the boat and we were engaged in the horseplay. And they call a lawyer and they eliminate a text. I mean, it's possible. It doesn't mean it's racism. It could be just covering their asses, or it could be racism, or it could be foul play. The only point I'm trying to make is that people are just doing everything they can to read into things that are not necessarily readable at this point.
Okay, before Harvey recorded that, we had a long conversation about it because I felt like that was not something he should have done. Yeah. We argued about it for a while, and he decided he was going to do it. And I do get his point about, and this is kind of the only reason I just threw my hands up and said, all right, go ahead and do it, I guess. He wanted to make the point about anything because it could be anything. Right. It could really be anything at this point, and people should not be forming such strong, in some cases, angry opinions about a case where we just don't know anything. And I even said, that theory that he came up with, I said, Harvey, it's like you're writing a Hollywood script. Like, could that have happened? Sure, I don't know.
I think what you're saying is, as you just said, that people shouldn't be forming firm opinions based on no evidence. The other thing maybe people shouldn't be doing is concocting theories. That in those
because
automatically
it adds to
it, and it's a human nature to latch on to a theory if it makes sense to you, and therefore it eventually does get to the point of creating sort of hard, entrenched feelings based on a lack of evidence, and that's what we're doing here.
Right, and so I don't know. I mean, I understand human nature that people are going to have opinions, and especially because there just isn't a lot of information that is available at this point. We know very little. We know Nolan Wells was found dead on July 6th. We know that he was out there with friends, but we also know that there were hundreds of people out on Horn Island.
We also know the only thing is we do know that those text messages were deleted.
And by the way, you say text messages. We were talking about that this morning. All they said was there were messages deleted. Were they text messages? Were they WhatsApp messages? Were they Snapchat messages? Okay. I don't know. And some of that those details will matter. And I certainly hope that's what the sheriff is looking into.
Well, they're agreeing with their previous point, saying that
this is the chat. This is our chat.
Yeah, our chat's kind of seeming like that. It seems like people are just applying their own prejudices to this case, despite the autopsy really giving no information and there really being a real lack of evidence.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And I will say, as far as the race baiting phrase being thrown around, I think it is unfair to call the people who live in Ocean Springs, who are in that community, they have a feeling about whether they're black or white. They have a feeling about how race affects their lives every day, right? That's just life in the South. That's life in America, but especially in the South. And that comes from history. And so I don't think it's fair to be judging those people if they feel, and we don't know yet, but if they feel that race has something to do with either what happened to Nolan or how people are reacting or not reacting. I mean, I still think it is absurd that no one has come forward to say that where they saw Nolan after 4:30 on July 4th.
Right.
Because with so many people out there. By the way, one of those people who is speaking out a little bit now is one of Nolan's friends, a guy named Warren Hudson. He actually went back to Horn Island with a podcaster, Brandon Tatum, and Warren went out there and stood on the shoreline, pointed out where the boats were, what the depth of the water was, to sort of give people a taste of what it was like there on July 4th. But even he doesn't have any information beyond the fact that he saw Nolan out there, but he doesn't know. He came back to shore, obviously, and he doesn't have an answer about what happened to him. But a lot of high emotions running very high about this case because we just don't know anything yet.
Harvey made it completely clear that this was just his theory, just kind of testing the surface, the water, because it's what everyone else is doing, right? So he just put it out there too. This is his opinion, and he's entitled. Everybody else is giving theirs. Why can't he give his? I got it. I feel him. But this is my thing. There's a reason everyone is coming up with all these theories and all these hypotheticals on, what they think could have and possibly happen, right? And with good reason. For the simple fact, the main medical examiner in Jackson County, in that area of Mississippi, has still not released the autopsy report. Why have you not released that information? Let me know, please. Why are things being held up? I'm curious, and so, everyone else is. Because my thing, if the family can send his body with the help, thank you God, of Colin Kaepernick. We always appreciate him because he always standing 10 toes down for the people. Pay for the independent autopsy. They have not just moved the body from that area all the way up to a whole nother state, had the preliminary autopsy done. And keep in mind that the autopsy could not be completed by Dr. Mitchell because the main initial coroner may hold back some of the organs because they are doing further examination. But my goodness, they have had this boy's body since he was found on the 6th of July. He went missing on the 4th. They were the first ones to get his body. And so they have had his body, in my opinion, long enough to at least put out a report. instead of putting out some quick premature information that it was an accidental drowning right off the bat before you actually looked into everything, stating that it was no foul play. I mean, that's about the only thing the sheriff really has said, other than we are working on it. You've been working on it for an absolutely long time. But my biggest thing is back to these theories that Charles was talking about. He was saying that people are putting out a lot of theories. And he understood why, because people want to know what's going on. My biggest thing is this. If the chief examiner, which is Dr. Stacy Turner, she's in Mississippi, and she's the one handling the primary and the preliminary autopsy for Nolan in the state of Mississippi where the crime took place, right? She did not send the lungs over.
I want to see the lungs and the neck, and they're both missing. I have a problem.
Dr. Stacy Turner, which is Mississippi's chief medical examiner on this Nolan Wells autopsy, who still has not released the report, also decided to withhold the lungs and the throat from the independent autopsy, the second autopsy the family was having conducted in, I think it was in Washington, where they had it done at, but it was done in Washington. And Dr. Roger Mitchell, who is a board certified forensic pathologist, he's a board certified forensic pathologist and chief medical examiner. He is the one who could not rule out foul play. Now, they're stating it's an accidental drowning, right? Then why didn't you just send the lungs? Because that would have been something that we could rule out, right? You have two medical examiners dissecting of the lungs that go deeper into the body. Then if they both come out and say, hey, it's an accidental drowning, because when we looked into his lungs, there was water down there in his lungs and stomach. No, Dr. Mitchell could not evaluate those organs because they were not there. If someone was already deceased when they were thrown in the water, that means that there was not going to be any water in the lungs or anywhere, because they're not breathing when they hit the water. I mean, common sense. But if that person was still alive when they went into the water, then of course they're going to ingest something into the lungs and everything at some point, and abdomen, because it's probably going to go through their mouth, right? Duh. I mean, I'm an accountant. I'm not a forensic pathologist or anything, but that's common sense. We all had biology and anatomy. You know, if they're breathing when they hit the water, they're alive. If they're not breathing, then they're not going to ingest anything because they're not pulling anything in. So if you want to get to the bottom here and there's nothing to hide, then why did you not send this information over? Or at least put some sort of notes in there for that doctor to reference, the second doctor, the independent doctor, to reference, to understand why you were not sending this information over. No. Dr. Turner out of Mississippi didn't do that. She just withheld it. So Dr. Mitchell had nothing to go on because it was not sent. So if it's not sent, then how in the world can it be evaluated? If you're saying it's a drowning, then it's a drowning, right? Everything should equal up. I mean, I'm sure just like anything, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, even though things may change the way the procedure-wise, at the end of the day, A plus B should come up with a C. You understand? And no matter where you got your training, if y'all are both pathologists, then at the end of the day, if he's evaluated in Mississippi, and then again, he's evaluated in Washington, then by Dr. Mitchell, then guess what? The results should be the same. It should be a drowning. There should be some notation. There should be something in the lungs if they had sent it over showing that this has happened. And the longer they wait to send this, it's going to be, I'm sure, a change in those body parts, because tissues are porous and they're going to absorb whatever is there. So I don't know, keeping it away so long, I don't know how they're maintaining those organs or whatever. It just seems to me it's a cover up. At the end of the day is what I'm saying. I'm just trying to break it all the way down for you guys. It seems like a cover up. If there is nothing to hide, then what will make sense to me is, why wasn't the mother called? Why was stuff erased out of the phone? Whether it's from, whether it's from messages, whether it's from WhatsApp, whether it's from Snapchat, regardless, but why was anything erased? If she knows her son, like I know my daughter, she's on Instagram, she's on TikTok, then you see no activity in those areas, you know something happened, especially if they often are on there and recording. And now I mean, everything is gone. One thing I like is some Nancy Grace. One thing I like about Nancy Grace, she don't care if you black, white, or green or purple. She is a matter of fact. She's a mother, and she's standing on that. And she loves her children, and she respects the point of a mother, father, or anyone with children. And she has a soft spot for it. And she's keeping her foot on their necks. Listen to this.
Nolan Wells bombshell tonight. The dead teen's messages deleted after his body washes ashore. Caitlin, now allegations have reared their ugly head that his phone has been tampered with and items have been deleted. Explain.
They had his phone. And when his mother was looking for his phone when he was missing, there were two different ways to identify it, either a Snapchat location or a Life 360 location. They showed different locations, which is very possible because one updates automatically, the other only updates when you open the app. But when she finally tracked it down, she says there was nothing on it from that day.
Do you see what I'm saying? And you guys know, as loud as black people scream, I'm just going to keep it 100. It's good to have someone of another race in there that's screaming even louder, and especially when you got one that don't play. And that's why I like Nancy Grace. She's not afraid. She's very stern, and she's a matter of fact. When she feels strongly about something, you're going to know it. So I'm so glad she's reporting on this, just as we all are. But some people's voice is just a little tad. You know what I'm saying? So my biggest thing is, if these boys had nothing to hide, it's just I understood what Harvey was saying about getting an attorney, maybe protecting their own selves, because they felt a little nervous because he was a black boy now, and they are white. And the first thing people are going to say, what? I'll play. And in the event it was not, they were feeling scared. So, hey, I understand getting an attorney, making sure you're protected so people don't try to twist things, because we know the police, don't we? They try to twist things. However, there's just a whole bunch of things here that is real skeptical and real funky. So my biggest thing is, if they don't want people to come up with all these theories, no theories would need to be had. If they were to put out a report, if they send that information to the second independent pathologist and examiner so he can come up with his own conclusion, you should not be waiting for him to put his out to come up with yours. It seems a little sketchy to me. The only thing what makes sense why nobody on that island heard or seen anything from Nolan drowning. They didn't hear him fighting in the water. They didn't hear him screaming. They didn't hear any of that. Do you know why? Because it didn't happen on the island. If that had happened on that island, somebody would have had a picture. Somebody would have seen something, unless they had taken him way off to another side of the island and drifted away and nobody's seen him. Or he just walked off by himself, and I don't see that happen. When all the action was going on in the front of the beach, what in the world would he do and would have to do walking away? And where this girl at? We need to hear from her. It's people just real hush-hush in this situation. So when they talk about things as like, right now, people are coming up with a whole bunch of conspiracy because they're not leaving us any choice but to come up with the conspiracy, because they are not allowing us to get to the facts and the truth. So people are creating their own truths. So something in the Mississippi waters is not clean. And I don't think that this boy drowned accidentally. I just do not think it's an accidental thing in this, because it's just taking too long. And another thing is, people always coming up with these hypotheticals. When you talk to some of the other experts that have been on some of these shows, even some of them that came up on Nancy Grace's show, she cut them right off. She stopped them right in their path, and I'm so glad she did. But they always want to rationalize what could have, should have, maybe happened. They don't have that same understanding. Well, I'm sorry, this could have happened. They automatically think the opposite, of something more egregious happened. But now that the people, the defendants, are white, you know, it's always a reason for the season, but it's not what y'all think. It's not the murder. It was accidental. It's not like that. So, you know, I don't want any of the kids. I wish that this had not happened. But the fact is, it did happen. And no one is saying it has to do with race. But being as Mississippi, and things seem real sketchy in this, if it didn't start off race, it's definitely gone to that direction at this point. I do think it's a race element to it at this point. And it's really unfair, because you have an 18-year-old young man that was in the prime of his life that doesn't have time to spend with his family, won't have another Christmas, can't support his brother, is not there, and it's awful. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone who's still sticking in there. We're going to keep our foot on their throats. And I also want to thank Ben Crump, Tyler Perry, Al Sharpton, everyone who's standing in for these parents and help making this come true where they can get some rest and close their eyes at night and try to work on their healing, because there's no healing until this season is done for this family. Put the report out. Give us some concrete information. If you want theories to shut down and slow down and stop, then you got to release and be authentic with the public and the parents more than anything. Bye.